In the glare of those unforgiving studio lights, David Letterman turned the whole damn night into a public execution. Barron Trump wasn't merely the president's youngest child. DNA, proven evidence of the darkest secret Trump had ever buried, a forbidden biological tie to his own daughter Ivanka that shattered every boundary and left the entire country staring at the wreckage of a family lie exposed live on national TV. The lights in the Ed Sullivan Theater came up slow, washing the old Broadway stage in that familiar warm glow. David Letterman walked out from the wings after 10 long years away. No big entrance, no goofy music sting, just him in a plain dark suit, looking older but steady. "I'm only here for one reason," he said, voice low and even. "To tell the truth, the whole country deserves to hear." The room went from loud to dead quiet in about 3 seconds. Letterman sat down behind the desk, folded his hands, and waited. A minute later, the side door opened, and Donald Trump walked in. President Trump again, second term. Still moving like he owned every room he entered. He strode straight over, stuck out his hand, and Letterman shook it without getting up. The handshake looked normal on camera, but up close, Letterman's grip was firm, almost challenging. Trump didn't seem to notice. He sat, crossed his legs, leaned back like this was just another fun sit-down. "Thanks for having me, Dave," Trump said, already in show mode. "Great to see you back. Missed you." Letterman didn't bite. He just nodded once, then reached under the desk and pulled out a thick red envelope, the kind that looks official and sealed with clear tape. He held it up so the camera caught the edges, then turned it toward the big screen behind them. The envelope filled the monitor. Red, heavy, no markings except a small white label that read, "Barron Trump, DNA results confidential." Trump's smile stayed put, but his eyes flicked to the screen, then back to Letterman. 30 seconds in, Mr. President," Letterman said, calm as if he was reading the weather. "And we're already at the part most people would rather skip. This is the independent DNA report on your youngest son, Barron. Lab results, chain of custody, the whole deal. You want to open it yourself? Or should I?" The studio crowd made a noise, half gasp, half murmur, like they couldn't decide whether to laugh or bolt. Trump gave a short chuckle, the kind he uses when he's buying time. "Come on, Dave, you're kidding, right? That's some kind of prop. Fake news envelope. Classic." Letterman didn't laugh back. He just slid a finger under the flap, tore it open slow enough for every camera to catch the rip. He pulled out 3 sheets of paper, held the top one up so the audience and the viewers at home could see the letterhead. A well-known genetics lab, date stamped last month. He started reading the summary line out loud, clear and flat. Paternity index, 99.997% match to Donald J. Trump. Maternity index, 99.9998% match to Ivanka M. Trump. The room exploded. Not cheers, real shock. People sucked in air. A woman in the 3rd row let out a sharp, "Oh, God!" Somebody else stood halfway up, then sat back down fast. Phones were already out, recording. Trump's face didn't change much at first, just that frozen grin, but his hands gripped the arms of the chair hard enough that the knuckles went white. Letterman set the page down, looked straight at Trump. "You still think it's a prop, sir?" Trump leaned forward, voice low but carrying because the mics were hot. "That's disgusting. Absolute garbage. You're done, Dave. You hear me? Done." Letterman didn't let the shock settle. He picked up the page again, held it steady, and read the key lines out loud like he was reading a grocery list. Slow, clear, no drama, which somehow made it hit even harder. Paternity match. Donald J. Trump to Barron Trump. 99.997%. That's about as close as science gets without being identical twins. Maternity match. Ivanka. Marie Trump to Barron Trump. 99.9998%. In plain English, the lab says Barron's biological mother is Ivanka. And the father is you, Mr. President. The crowd noise swelled again, gasps turning into low, stunned murmurs. A couple people in the front row covered their mouths. Phones were up everywhere, live streaming to millions who were probably refreshing Twitter like crazy. Trump's face had gone from frozen grin to something tighter, angrier. He shot forward in his chair, cutting Letterman off mid-sentence. "That's a disgusting lie," he barked, voice sharp enough to crack glass. "Total garbage. You're peddling filth on national TV. I'm not sitting here for this crap." He shoved himself up, chair scraping loud against the floor, and started toward the exit like he was done. The band didn't play. The lights didn't dim. Everything just hung there, awkward and electric. Half the audience half stood, not sure if they should clap, or boo, or just stare. Letterman didn't move. He just reached over, pressed a button on the desk console, and the big screen switched from the DNA report to a live video feed. A middle-aged man appeared, gray hair, white coat, name tag reading Dr. Robert Klein, M.D., Obstetrics and Gynecology. The doctor looked nervous but steady, sitting in what looked like a home office with diplomas on the wall behind him. "Mr. President," Letterman said, calm as ever, "before you leave, maybe you'd like to hear from someone who was actually in the room back in 2006. Dr. Klein, you're live. Go ahead." Trump stopped dead halfway to the curtain. He turned slowly, eyes narrowing at the screen. The doctor cleared his throat, glanced at a folder in his hands, then looked straight into his camera. "I was the attending physician who performed private paternity and maternity testing for the Trump family in late 2006, Dr. Klein said. His voice shook, just a little at first, then steadied. "The samples were collected discreetly at a private facility in New York. I signed the original report myself. The results were the same as what's on that screen tonight. After I delivered them, I was instructed, strongly instructed, to destroy my copies and never speak about it again. I kept one sealed set anyway. I'm sorry it took this long, but I can't carry that secret anymore." The studio lost it. Shouts erupted from every section. "What the hell? No way! This is insane!" A woman in the back yelled. "Tell the truth!" Trump stood there frozen for a beat, then spun back toward his chair and dropped into it hard like his legs gave out. His face was pale now, almost gray under the lights, and when he spoke his voice came out lower, rougher, trembling at the edges. "You're finished, Letterman," he said, pointing a thick finger across the desk. "You and your doctor buddy, you're both finished. Lawsuits, investigations, you name it, this ends tonight." Letterman leaned back just a fraction, eyes locked on Trump's. "No, sir," he said quietly, almost gentle. "You're just starting to lose control, and the country's watching every second of it." The camera caught Trump's hands. They were shaking now, just enough to notice. Letterman didn't give Trump a second to recover. He reached for a small tablet on the desk, tapped twice, and the big screen behind them switched again, this time to scanned documents. Old-looking, yellowed at the edges but clear enough for everyone to read. "Before Barron," Letterman said, voice steady, "there was another child. Ivanka was 15. Summer of 1997, she got pregnant. The baby was born in early 1998. A girl. They named her Victoria. Then the family made arrangements, quiet ones, closed adoption through a private agency. No public record, no hospital name on the birth certificate that matched the official story. Everything sealed tight." He let the images stay up. A redacted birth certificate with female and the date January 14th, 1998, then a one-page adoption decree, blacked out names except for the adoptive parents' initials and the notary stamp from New York State. The crowd was quieter this time, the shock turning into something heavier, like people were trying to decide if this could possibly be real. Trump slammed his palm down on the desk so hard the microphones rattled. Papers slid. A water glass tipped and spilled. "There is no Victoria," he shouted, face flushed red. "This is made-up nonsense. You're inventing people now? You're sick, Dave. Sick." Letterman didn't flinch. He tapped the tablet one more time. The screen went live. Zoom window, simple background. A woman in her late 20s sitting in what looked like a plain living room. She had dark hair pulled back, eyes wide but determined. No makeup, no filter. Just a regular person who looked nervous as hell, but ready to speak. "Mr. President," Letterman said, "this is Victoria. She's 28 now. She got the DNA results from the same lab last week. Victoria, you're live. Go ahead." The woman swallowed, leaned closer to her camera. Her voice came through clear, a little shaky at first. I just found out about all this from Mr. Letterman's team. They showed me the records, the matches. I've spent years wondering why my birth certificate didn't match anything, why there were gaps in the paperwork. Now I know." "I want to ask you directly, Mr. Trump, why did you erase every trace of me? Why make it like I never happened?" The studio erupted, not just gasps, real shouts. "Holy shit!" from the back. A man in the middle row stood up yelling, "Answer her!" Phones lit up again, people filming the screen, filming Trump. Someone in the front started crying, loud enough to hear over the noise. Trump shot to his feet so fast his chair tipped backward. He pointed straight at the big screen, finger shaking. "Turn that off right now," he roared. "This is a setup. You're ambushing me with actors. Get that garbage off my show." Letterman kept his hand flat on the desk, didn't touch the button. "She's not an actor," he said, calm, almost soft. "She didn't ask to be here. She didn't want cameras or fame or any of this. She just wanted to know who her real mother is, and why her whole early life was wiped clean." Victoria stayed on screen, eyes locked on Trump's image, even though he wasn't looking at her anymore. She didn't yell back. She just waited, breathing uneven, like she'd been holding the question in for years. Trump sat back down slowly, jaw tight, eyes darting between Letterman and the cameras, like he was calculating his next move. Letterman didn't rush. He tapped the tablet again, and 3 new images popped up side by side on the big screen, each one a high-res scan, crisp enough to read every line and signature. "These aren't rumors or Photoshop jobs," Letterman said, pointing with the tip of his pen. "This is the original birth certificate for Victoria, January 14th, 1998. Sealed original, not the amended one that's on file anywhere public. Here's the adoption agreement, closed, through a New York agency that doesn't even exist on paper anymore. And this," he tapped the 3rd image, "is an internal email from Trump Organization, dated February 3rd, 1998. Subject line, Final Disposition, VT. Body says, quote, 'All records regarding the matter are to be destroyed per DJT instructions. Confirm receipt.' Sent from one executive assistant to another. Both names redacted here for privacy, but the timestamps and headers match the company servers from that year." The crowd leaned in. Phones stayed up, but the room got quieter again, the kind of quiet where everyone's waiting for the punch to land. Trump forced a laugh, short, sharp, the one he pulls out when he's buying time. "Fake news," he said, shaking his head like it was all a bad joke. "Come on, Dave. You think you can throw up some blurry scans and call it proof? Anybody can make that stuff. I've seen better fakes on the internet." Letterman didn't argue. He just hit another button on the console. The screen split again. This time a new live feed appeared. An older man, mid-60s, suit and tie, sitting in what looked like a law office with bookshelves behind him. The chyron at the bottom read, "Michael Hargrove, former counsel, Trump Organization, 1995 to 2002. "Mr. Hargrove," Letterman said, "you're live. You've seen these documents before?" The lawyer nodded once, slow and deliberate. His voice came through clear, measured, like he'd rehearsed this. "I drafted the adoption paperwork myself in late 1997, Hargrove said. "I was instructed to handle the entire process off books. Private doctors, private agency, no public filings beyond the bare minimum. After the birth, I received a direct call from Mr. Trump. He told me to destroy every file, every note, every backup related to Victoria. I followed orders at the time. I kept digital copies anyway, encrypted. I'm releasing them tonight because keeping that secret for 28 years has eaten at me long enough." Trump exploded out of his chair again, this time slamming both hands on the desk. "You're a traitor," he yelled, voice cracking with rage. "You worked for me. You took my money. And now you sit there lying on live TV? You're finished too. Disbarred, sued into the ground." Hargrove didn't blink. He looked straight into his camera, calm as if he'd expected the outburst. "No, sir," he said quietly. "I'm not a traitor. I'm just tired of carrying a lie that big for that long. You gave the order. I followed it. Now the truth's out, and I'm done hiding." The studio roared, shouts from every direction, a mix of anger and disbelief. A few people clapped, others booed, the energy chaotic and raw. Trump stood there breathing hard, fists clenched, staring at the screen like he wanted to reach through it. Letterman let the moment breathe for a second, then added the last piece, voice low. "One more detail. In 2018, Victoria started digging into her own records. She hit dead ends everywhere, sealed files, missing links. She reached out to a former contact who knew about old Trump Organization documents. That contact forwarded her request to Barack Obama. He didn't get involved personally, just helped open one sealed archive through legal channels so she could see what was there. No politics, just paperwork." Trump didn't respond right away. He just stood, chest rising and falling, eyes locked on the frozen image of the email still up on screen. Then he'd pushed back from the desk, stood up slow like a man deciding whether to fight or run, then walked around the side of the desk until he was right next to Letterman, close enough that the cameras had to zoom out to keep both in frame. His face was inches from Letterman's, voice dropped low, almost a growl, the kind you use when you're trying not to scream in front of millions. "You have no idea what you just started," Trump said, each word slow and heavy. "No idea the hell you're bringing down on yourself. This isn't some late-night bit. You crossed a line tonight, Dave. You're going to regret it." Letterman didn't stand, didn't even lean away. He stayed seated, hands flat on the desk, eyes locked on Trump's without blinking. The crowd had gone quiet again, the kind of quiet where you can hear breathing from 10 rows back. "I know exactly what I started," Letterman said, calm, almost tired. "And you know it too. That's why you're standing here instead of walking out." Trump's hand shot out fast, faster than anyone expected. He grabbed the microphone right off the stand in front of Letterman, yanking the cord taut. The metal clattered against the desk. He held it up like a weapon, thumb hovering over the mute button on the base, ready to kill the feed, kill the sound, kill the whole thing. "Enough," he barked. "We're done here. Cut it. Cut the cameras now." But nothing happened. No blackout. No director's voice in the earpiece. The red lights on the cameras stayed on, steady and unblinking. Letterman reached under the desk with his left hand, slow, deliberate, and pressed a small black button nobody had noticed before. A backup switch, hardwired straight to the control booth, the kind you only install when you know the night might go nuclear. The big screen behind them flickered once, then lit up with a new document. Clean white background, same lab logo as before. Bold header, sibling DNA analysis, Baron Trump and Victoria T., redacted surname. Below it, the numbers jumped out in red. Full sibling match probability, 99.94%. Sharing one biological parent confirmed. Paternal lineage identical. Maternal lineage distinct. The studio lost its mind. People jumped to their feet all at once, chairs scraping, shouts overlapping. "Oh my God!" ripped through the crowd like a wave. A woman in the third row screamed it again, hand over her mouth. Phones were shaking in people's hands, live streams glitching from too many people hitting record. Someone in the back yelled, "This is real!" and it echoed. Trump froze. The microphone slipped from his fingers, clattered to the floor with a loud thud that boomed through the speakers. He took 2 stumbling steps backward, away from the desk, away from Letterman, face draining of color, until it was almost white under the lights. His mouth opened, closed, opened again, but no sound came out. Just that stunned, hollow look, like the ground had dropped out and he was still falling. Letterman picked up the fallen mic, set it back on the stand without hurry. He looked straight at Trump, voice cutting through the chaos like a knife. "This isn't a joke," he said. "This isn't a stunt. This is the truth you buried for 28 years. And tonight it finally came up for air. Trump didn't move, didn't speak. He just stood there in the middle of the stage, chest heaving, eyes fixed on the screen where those sibling numbers still burned bright. The crowd kept roaring, half in disbelief, half in fury, all of it raw and unstoppable. Then Trump turned away from Letterman, shoulders hunched, and started walking toward the side exit. No wave, no final words, just the slow, heavy steps of someone who knew the cameras were still rolling but couldn't face them anymore. Halfway to the curtain, he stopped. 3 seconds. Dead still. Then he pivoted just enough to look straight into the center lens, the one beaming his face to every living room, every phone, every bar across the country. "I will sue you into oblivion," he said, voice low and ragged, the words scraping out like they hurt to say. "All of you. This isn't over." He held the stare for another beat, then turned back and kept walking. The curtain was right there, inches away. Letterman didn't let the moment end like that. He reached under the desk one last time, pressed a different button. The big screen lit up again, not with documents this time, but with a simple audio waveform, frozen for a second before it started playing. A short clip, pre-recorded with Victoria's full consent timestamped just hours earlier. The sound filled the theater, a phone ringing once, twice. Then her voice, soft, cracked, the same one from the Zoom call but rawer now, like she'd been holding it in forever. "Hello?" Trump's voice answered on the line, distant, cautious. A pause, breathing. "Dad, it's me, Victoria." Her words came slow, trembling. I only wanted to hear your voice once, that's all. Just once." Click. The line went dead. No response from the other end. The studio went silent. Completely. No shouts, no gasps. Just a vacuum where sound used to be. Trump froze at the doorway back to the room, hand on the curtain. The studio mics were still hot, picking up everything. His ragged breathing, loud and uneven, heaving like he'd run a mile. Everyone heard it. Every hitch, every shudder. The whole country heard it. 5 seconds passed. 5 endless seconds of nothing but that broken breathing echoing through the speakers. Trump didn't turn around, didn't speak. He just let the curtain fall behind him and was gone. Letterman sat there alone now, the desk empty except for the red envelope and the tablet. He looked into the main camera, voice quiet but clear. "I don't need him to admit anything," he said. The DNA already spoke, and tonight America heard it too. He reached over and dimmed the lights himself. No fancy fade, just a simple switch. The screen went black. But the sound didn't stop right away. A slow, heavy heartbeat effect kicked in. Thump, 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 like it was Trump's pulse still pounding through the speakers, fading only after the picture was gone. The broadcast cut to black. No credits, no music. Just silence that felt louder than anything said all night.